Joining us now is former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Sean, welcome to the U.S. Report. Want to start out with some breaking news. Donald Trump, at a rally in Arizona just a little while ago, announced that he would end taxes on overtime wages, saying the hardworking wage earners deserve to keep what they earned to get ahead. Is this A, a winning move, and B, how long until Kamala Harris steals the idea?
I think the latter part is probably the more apropos question. I have a feeling by tomorrow morning she's going to be discussing what a great idea this was. Look, Trump has previously come out for no tax on tips, which really is a huge win for restaurant workers, in particular culinary workers in the battleground state of Nevada. It's obviously, he's talked about no tax on Social Security. He's got a nose for this stuff. I think for a lot of people, blue-collar workers, hourly workers, these kind of policies resonate with them. They're struggling under the Biden economy, the Biden-Harris economy. So I think politically speaking, he's on to something again. I'm sure we'll get a price tag. It's funny because here's how this is going to play out. Tomorrow, it's going to get derided by everybody. They're going to talk about how much it costs and how big of a hole it'll blow. She'll come out for it the next day, and then they'll say that it's a great piece of policy and it'll win our votes. So we'll see how this progresses. But I will say this: Trump has a really good nose for issues that affect the working men and women of this country.
Well, and so, Sean, this brings me to my next question, which was about the whole tenor of that debate, which the media class seemed to absolutely award totally to Kamala Harris. And I guess on a debating level on points, yeah, she won because she had a big assist from the moderators. But in terms of, that debate's ability to move the needle for her, I don't think there was much in the way of red meat in terms of policies that would actually help people who are doing it tough in America.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, look, there's a lot of people who tuned into that debate. I always say it's like watching a sporting event, right? So I've got the teams that I like to root for. I think I'm a good enough fan that I can acknowledge when another team has a good game or my team doesn't play as well as it should. That doesn't mean I'm switching my allegiances. And so coming out of the debate last night, I think, or the other night, I think a lot of people who were for Trump maybe think he missed a couple opportunities. Does that mean he had a bad debate? No. Does that mean that there are a couple opportunities when he could have scored some points on her? Sure. But what this comes down to for most voters is that she didn't seal the deal. They don't know much about her. They were tuning in to find something about her. And when you look at the same media outlets that you're talking about that so quickly wanted to proclaim her the winner, New York Times, the BBC, Reuters, and they did these analysis with undecided voters, which is frankly what matters at this stage. Most of them said she didn't close the deal with them. They weren't really sure. In fact, some said, I really was more interested in what Trump said about policy, because the uniqueness of this election is such that it's not a hypothetical. And they can literally say to themselves, okay, I didn't hear her talk about substance, of policy, of how she's going to make my life better, how she's going to make it more affordable, how she's going to make the country safer. Trump just has to say, hey, look, you saw what I did. If you like it, you get to vote for it again. If you don't, he doesn't need to sell people. He was president. Yeah. He has a record, and they either like it or they don't. But they're comparing it to her and what she says she's going to do. And that's why I said this going into the debate. So if people go back and play the tape, I think I'm pretty consistent. The debate didn't matter much for him. It mattered for her. People know Donald Trump. Everybody knows Donald Trump.
And all they've got is Kamala's record as vice president, and I think he should have made more about the fact that she was or still remains the vice president. But, it's interesting to me, Sean, when I watch Harris rallies, all she does is talk about Trump, 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 and cast him as the big villain. But there's nothing more in terms of the substance. And we saw this again when she attacked Trump's for his rallies, and she made a claim about his rallies that got under his skin. Have a look at this.
What you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back.
Without getting into the numbers game, though, he is correct that they are bringing people in from quite long distances to fill these halls for Kamala Harris. We showed clips of this happening in New Hampshire and in Georgia last week. Does all this suggest that, despite all the media hoopla, the Harris campaign's internal polling might not be as strong as we would be led to believe?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I would actually look at it the other way. I think that there's a lot of people in America who might not want to admit they're voting for Donald Trump. I think they wanted to get rid of Joe Biden. They pushed him out. They replaced her. I think a lot of the Democrats did come home. But I don't think with independents in particular, as I said previously, that she's closing the deal. The thing that's so interesting is that it really was, I get why she did it. She wanted to needle him, and to some degree, she was effective at doing it, but it was kind of stupid because, I mean, Trump rallies go on for 4 or 5 hours. He does talk about, I mean, that's all he talks about is you're paying more, you do this, I'm going to help you. The funny part about the answer is I think he had a much better answer than he gave when it came to the reality. I've been to Trump rallies. All he does is talk about other people. They last for hours on end. I did an entire documentary called Trump's Front Row Joes that people can go to. I've got a website called frontrowjoes.movie. And you can see people literally will travel for days living in their car to go to a Trump rally. It was funny. And that's why I think that I wish he had answered it better, because the Trump rallies are like a movement that no one's ever seen before. He was right on that front. She has to have like entertainers to get people to show up. She buses them in, as you just pointed out. But that, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I will say that like I felt like his answer didn't give his rallies the due that they deserve.
Yeah, and hey, what do you make, too, also, Sean, of these claims that, or apparently reports now, accurate reports, that one of the moderators of this debate was a sorority sister or was in the same sorority as Kamala Harris? This seems to me like the more we learn about this debate, there's more and more ethical problems with the way it was actually managed. What do you reckon?
I mean, think about this. The head of Disney that oversees the division of ABC News is a close personal friend of hers. You just pointed this thing out about Lindsay Davis, the moderator. I mean, the fix was so in. People keep saying it was 3-on-1. It wasn't 3-on-1. It was like 300-to-1. The directors, the producers, the executives. I don't know who wasn't against Trump going into that. It was truly a setup from the jump. And I'm not shocked. There was nothing about that debate that was even close to fair or balanced. I don't know. There's days in which I feel like I say I'm shocked, and then I have to reflect and go, am I really? I mean, look, ABC News, I think, understood their mission. CNN's job was to get rid of Biden, and ABC's job was to do everything they could to help her in every way possible in terms of the questions, the false fact checks that they did against him, the subjects. I mean, there wasn't an aspect of that debate. The optics of it were horrible for him.
No. Exactly right, and Sean, I think like a magician's magic trick, they were a little bit too obvious with it. Thank you so much for your time, Sean Spicer.